You ever notice like how some people just sail through conversations? They can talk to anyone, they just grab your attention, and you always remember them.
Yeah.
It's like they have this like secret communication superpower or something.
Mm-hmm.
Well, today we're going to unlock that superpower, Ray.
Yeah.
We are deep diving into Ian Tahosky's 21 Days of Effective Communication. It's full of practical exercises and advice that can like help us all be better communicators.
Yeah, it really is. This book breaks down communication into like these easy steps, so it makes it feel possible for anybody.
Right.
One of the most interesting things I found was how much it focuses on listening.
Exactly. Like we always
Mm.
think about communication being all about talking, right?
Yeah.
But Tahosky shows us how listening is really like the most important thing for connecting with people and really understanding each other.
Yeah, and it's fascinating how he shows us how powerful it is to just let someone talk about their problems.
Right.
It's really tempting to jump in and give advice.
Yeah.
But sometimes the best thing we can do is just be quiet and listen.
You know what? I've definitely been guilty of that, like offering advice when I really shouldn't have.
Yeah,
I thought I was helping, but they really just needed to vent.
right.
There's something really nice about knowing that someone is really listening to you.
Absolutely. And Tofsky says that, when we offer solutions before someone's really thought things through, it can backfire.
Oh, yeah.
It can make them feel like they can't figure things out on their own.
Yeah, it makes you feel like you don't have the ability
Right.
to solve your own problems.
Exactly.
Okay, but, got to confess,
Mm-hmm.
I am a recovering interrupter.
Ah.
I used to always jump in with my own thoughts before people finish talking.
Oh, yeah.
I'm working on it, but it's really hard.
It's definitely something we all struggle with.
Yeah.
I actually started using sticky notes on my computer to remind myself to pause and just listen before I talk.
Oh, that's smart.
But yeah, interrupting really kills conversations.
It's like you're saying that you don't really care what they have to say,
Yeah.
and that's bad for any relationship.
Absolutely. When we interrupt someone, we're saying our thoughts are more important than theirs.
Mm-hmm.
And that can really damage relationships. So, speaking of respect,
Mm-hmm.
Tuhovsky also talks about inclusive communication.
Yeah.
It's super relevant in today's world where everyone's connected.
Right. It's like recognizing that we're all different.
Yeah. Yeah.
We communicate in different ways, and we all have different backgrounds.
Right.
So how can we be sure that we're using inclusive language?
Well, Tuhovsky has some really practical examples, like at work.
Uh,
Avoid mentioning someone's sexual orientation unless it's really relevant.
Okay.
And when you're talking about disabilities,
Yeah.
focus on the person first, not the disability.
Oh, so instead of saying a disabled person,
Yeah.
you'd say a person with a disability.
Exactly. It's a small change, but it makes a difference
Yeah, I can see that.
in how we see and value people.
It makes me think about that whole political correctness thing.
Yeah.
Is inclusive communication just being politically correct?
I think it's more than that.
Okay.
It's about making a space where everyone feels safe and respected.
Mm-hmm.
And there's research that shows that companies with diverse and inclusive workplaces are more successful.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
When people feel like they can be themselves,
Yeah,
they're probably more productive.
exactly. And even if you don't agree with the idea,
Right.
you should remember that using language that isn't inclusive can really have consequences.
Like offending someone or creating a bad work environment.
Yeah, and it can hurt your reputation or lead to problems at work.
So it's not just about being nice. It's about understanding how our words can affect others.
Exactly. Let's talk about vocabulary now.
Oh, yeah, I love this.
Yeah, I know you're a word person, so I thought of you.
I am.
Tuhovsky really emphasizes the connection between vocabulary and success.
Oh, I've always been so interested in language.
Mm-hmm.
How does a good vocabulary help you succeed?
Well, studies show that people with larger vocabularies are better at understanding what they read.
Okay.
They can process information faster,
Right.
and they're even better communicators.
It's like having more tools.
Exactly. And Tuhovsky has some great tips for expanding your vocabulary. One is to try using a new word every day.
I tried that once.
Did you really?
Yeah, it was fun. But
Mm.
then I started using these weird words in regular conversations.
Oh, no.
And people were looking at me like I was crazy.
That's so funny. But it shows that trying to learn new words can be a learning experience,
Yeah, it made me think about how I use language and how it affects other people.
Right.
What are some other ways to improve your vocabulary?
Well, Tuhovsky recommends playing word games, breaking down words into their roots and prefixes,
Okay.
and of course, reading a lot. He also says you should just ask about words you don't know instead of feeling embarrassed.
Yeah, don't be shy.
Right. Now let's talk about a tip that I found really helpful.
Okay.
It's about the power of and yet.
Interesting.
I used to use but all the time. I want to do
Mhm.
this but. It was like putting up a wall.
Oh, yeah. But definitely stops you from moving forward.
Yeah. So how does changing but to and help?
Yeah.
Well, but makes you feel helpless, but and suggests there's a solution. It shifts your focus.
So it's like, but erases everything you said before.
Yeah.
While and acknowledges what you said, but also opens up new possibilities.
Exactly. And then there's the power of yet.
Yet.
It's a tiny word, but it's powerful.
Okay, tell me more about this yet.
Okay, so when you add yet to the end of a negative thought,
Hmm.
you're acknowledging where you are now, but you're also implying that things can change.
Okay.
So instead of saying, I can't run a marathon, you say, I can't run a marathon. Yet.
Ah, okay.
It makes it feel less impossible, like a challenge you can overcome.
It's like changing your mindset.
Exactly. It's about changing how you think, from limitations to potential. And that's powerful, not just for talking to others, but for how you talk to yourself.
So instead of I'm not good at public speaking,
Right.
I can say I'm not good at public speaking
Yeah.
yet.
Exactly. It opens up the possibility for growth.
Yeah.
And that's much more empowering. It's like planting a seed.
Yeah, it really is amazing how just changing a word or two can completely change your mindset
Right.
and how you communicate. Tuhovsky also talks about how important it is to be aware of our pronouns.
Yes. He mentions how using I too much
Yeah.
can make you sound self-centered.
Oh, yeah.
Like you only care about yourself.
It's a good reminder to pay attention to how much we're talking about ourselves.
Yeah, it's about finding that sweet spot between being confident and also thinking about others.
Right.
There's actually research that shows that people who use we more
Yeah,
are seen as more collaborative.
that makes sense.
It's a subtle way to connect with people.
Speaking of connecting with people,
Mm-hmm.
Tuhovsky has a whole chapter about offering help in a good way.
Right.
It sounds easy, but I think we've all had those awkward moments
Yeah.
where you want to help, but you just don't know what to say.
Exactly. He says we should be specific when we offer help.
Okay.
So instead of that vague, let me know if you need anything,
Yeah, yeah.
try saying something like, can I bring you dinner this week?
Oh, that's much better.
Or would it be helpful if I looked over that report for you?
That's so much more helpful.
Right.
It shows that you're really thinking about what they need.
Exactly. And since we're talking about being helpful, Tuhovsky also emphasizes saying thank you.
Oh, yeah, gratitude.
It's such a small thing,
Yeah,
but it makes a huge difference in relationships.
for sure.
And don't just say a quick thanks.
Right.
Say something more specific, like, thank you for taking the time to explain that to me.
Well, yeah.
It really helped me understand.
Yeah, that's much better. It's like you're really appreciating what they did for you.
Exactly. It creates a good feeling, like they want to help you again. Now, on the other hand, Tuhovsky talks about some communication habits that can really hurt relationships.
Like those people who always have to be right.
Yes. Or those who interrupt you all the time.
Yeah, those are the worst.
He talks about how needing to win every argument or always having the last word can be so damaging. It makes people defensive and resentful,
Yeah.
and it stops you from really connecting with them.
It's like they care more about winning
Yeah,
than understanding the other person.
exactly. Sometimes it's better to just be kind, even if you think you're right.
Absolutely. Tuhovsky also talks about how the way we were raised affects how we communicate.
Mm-hmm.
Like if your family argued a lot,
Yeah.
you might think that's normal.
It's interesting how our childhood experiences, good or bad, shape how we talk to people.
That's why it's so important to understand ourselves.
Yeah,
Knowing what we're good at and what we need to work on is really important to becoming better communicators.
absolutely. And then there's the whole thing about different generations communicating differently.
Oh, yeah, that's so true.
From baby boomers to Gen Z.
Right. They all have their own styles.
Tuhovsky talks about that.
You can't expect someone from Gen Z to react to an email the same way a baby boomer would.
Exactly. It's really important to understand those generational differences if you want to communicate well, especially at work where you have people from all different generations.
Wow, we've talked about so much today. From how important it is to listen to using language that includes everyone, it's obvious that communication is a really complex skill that's always changing.
And I really like that Tuhovsky gives us practical advice that we can actually use in our daily lives.
Definitely. So to wrap up our deep dive today, I want to leave you with a question. If you could pick just one communication skill to master today, Which one would make the biggest difference in your life? It's something to think about as you continue